Imagine standing in front of one of the ocean's most frightening and unexplained mysteries, a fish that dwells in the abyssal depths where sunlight never reaches, suddenly appears on the surface. An event so rare that many consider it an omen of catastrophe. What if I told you that in recent history, creatures like this have been seen just before devastating earthquakes and overwhelming tsunamis? Coincidence? Perhaps. But there's something about this pattern that makes scientists' hair stand on end. In recent years, the black devil and the oarfish, known as the fish of the end of the world, have been observed in places where, according to nature's logic, they should not be. In Japan, before the 9.1 earthquake that devastated the country in 2011, more than 20 oarfish mysteriously washed ashore. In Chile and Taiwan, similar stories were repeated before significant tremors. Now, a new event arouses curiosity and fear: the unprecedented footage of the black devilfish, a species that should be between 656 and 6,562 feet deep, but which appeared where it should never be seen. I wonder what's going on. Is nature trying to send us a silent warning? Or are we just witnessing the consequences of something much bigger, like climate change and the destruction of marine ecosystems? The fact is, every time a being from the deep appears where it shouldn't, something big is happening. And understanding this can be the key to predicting the unpredictable. So, what is really behind this phenomenon? In the midst of the dark vastness of the depths of the ocean, where sunlight never reaches, a group of biologists from the NGO Crick made an unprecedented record. A black devilfish, captured in unpublished images in the Canary Islands. This animal, which inhabits regions between 656 and 6,562 feet deep, is rarely seen alive, making this discovery a true historical event. For those who have never heard of it, we are talking about an almost alien being, which looks like it came out of a science fiction movie. Its dark appearance and unique characteristics reinforce the mystery that surrounds the inhabitants of the deep sea. The rarity of this encounter cannot be underestimated. Most of the black devilfish specimens that come to our attention are already lifeless, washed to the surface by unknown forces, such as unpredictable ocean currents. But that was not the case. This time, the animal was seen moving, displaying the glow of its luminous antenna, a mechanism of attraction for its prey. The mere fact that we have access to such clear images of this enigmatic being is already a reason for fascination. However, what really catches the eye here is, why did it emerge from its abyssal habitat? If you've ever seen Finding Nemo, you may remember that iconic scene where a creepy fish emerges from the shadows, hypnotizing prey with its bioluminescence. Well, it's not just in Disney animation that he causes astonishment. What's really intriguing is that this creature should remain in the depths, away from our everyday reality. So what would have made him break through this invisible barrier and appear in the light of day? This isn't the first time an unusual animal has popped up unexpectedly, and when it does, many people start wondering, is it a sign of something bigger? When we talk about historical records, we are not exaggerating. This was only the second time that a black devilfish was filmed alive, and for the first time in daylight. Imagine how difficult it is to capture images of an animal that spends its life hiding in the depths of the ocean, where the pressure is overwhelming and the darkness is absolute. Most of the specimens found to date have not been so lucky, being brought to the surface already lifeless, as relics of an unexplored world. This fact alone raises important questions. Is anything shifting in the ocean's balance? The truth is that we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the deepest points of the oceans. To date, few expeditions have been able to explore the seabed in a practical and safe way, and that's exactly what makes each new discovery so valuable. The first record of a live black devilfish was made only in 2014, using a remotely operated vehicle at a depth of 1,969 feet. Since then, observations have remained scarce, reinforcing how rare it is to witness this creature in its natural habitat. But what about when he appears out of his comfort zone? Imagine the impact of witnessing something like this. Scientists, explorers, and even the lay public can't help but wonder, Is this just a fluke or an indication of something bigger? After all, many marine species have well-defined behavior patterns. If the black devilfish is emerging, it could mean a change in its environment, either through the influence of anomalous currents or unknown natural phenomena. The fact is that events like this never go unnoticed, and it's not the first time that a fish of the deep has appeared unexpectedly. And it was precisely one of these encounters that created one of the greatest legends of the oceans. If there's one fish that carries an air of mystery and superstition, it's the oarfish. This creature, as fascinating as it is enigmatic, is an inhabitant of the depths who, curiously, has the nickname Fish at the End of the World. And it is not by chance. On several occasions, its appearance has been associated with catastrophic events, such as earthquakes and tsunamis. But is this just a coincidence, or is there something deeper going on? Science tries to explain this, but folklore and folk beliefs have their own theories, and some of them are frightening. Reports about oarfish and their supposed premonitory power are old and come from various parts of the world. In Japan, for example, this creature is considered a messenger from the god of the sea, a warning that something great and often destructive is about to happen. Not by chance. Before the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, which devastated the country, dozens of these animals were found adrift off the Japanese coast. And the pattern was repeated in other regions of the planet. Chile in 2022, Taiwan in 2023. In all these cases, a few days later, the earth shook. But how can a fish that lives in such deep waters be linked to earthquakes? Some scientists suggest that, because they inhabit abyssal zones, they would have been extremely sensitive to seismic vibrations even before humans noticed them. This would cause them to rise to the surface out of pure survival instinct, as if trying to escape from something invisible and threatening. Now, whether this is a real indication of impending disasters or just an isolated phenomenon is still a mystery. What we do know is that when a paddlefish appears, many people start to get restless. But is black devilfish following the same pattern? What would happen if the oceans had their own disaster warning system? If we look at recent history, it seems that nature already gives us some signs, and one of them may be an oarfish. Before the devastating 2011 earthquake and tsunami in Japan, about 20 oarfish were sighted off the country's coast. Coincidence? Perhaps. But when similar events occurred in Chile in 2022 and Taiwan in 2023, with sightings of these animals just before major tremors, the pattern began to catch the attention of scientists and scholars. In the case of Japan, the tragedy of 2011 was not a simple tremor. The earthquake reached a magnitude of 9.1, displacing the island by 8.2 feet and triggering a tsunami with waves of up to 19.7 feet. The impacts were overwhelming. Mass destruction, thousands of deaths, and one of the biggest nuclear disasters in history at the Fukushima plant. And then comes the question, did oarfish really predict this event, or did they just react to geological changes that we humans have not yet been able to detect? The same happened in Taiwan, where a strong tremor, 7.5 on the Richter scale, happened shortly after the appearance of the oarfish. The mystery continues and inevitably raises a new question. Could other species of the deep have a similar role? If the oarfish has been dubbed the fish of the end of the world, could the appearance of the black devilfish be telling us something? So far, there are no records that this enigmatic being is related to natural catastrophes, but the fact that it has been seen outside its habitat raises suspicions. And that brings us to an even bigger question. What could be forcing the emergence of abyssal creatures? When it comes to natural phenomena, human instinct tends to seek logical or spiritual explanations. In the case of oarfish, some cultures believe it is a messenger of disaster, while science suggests a more rational explanation. These fish may be reacting to subtle changes in the underwater environment, such as microtremors that precede large earthquakes. They live in zones of great geological instability, where tectonic plates are constantly moving, and they can sense these vibrations long before we do. But what about black devilfish? Does your appearance follow the same principle? To date, there is no concrete evidence that the appearance of the black devilfish is linked to impending disasters. However, Its presence in shallow waters raises doubts. This fish must have been thousands of feet below the surface, and if it's surfaced, something may have forced it to do so. There are a few hypotheses. Changes in ocean currents, a possible injury, or even the search for food in an altered environment. In other words, something may be destabilized in their habitat. And when the balance of the ocean shifts, the impact may be much greater than we imagine. If we think about past events, what occurs in the depths of the ocean usually does not happen by chance. From underwater volcanic eruptions to temperature changes, any small deviation can affect the entire food chain and the migratory patterns of species. This is a wake-up call not just for scientists, but for all of us. If abyssal creatures are starting to appear more often in places where they shouldn't be, are we looking at a greater transformation in the ocean? And more, are these changes being caused by something that we ourselves caused? The oceans have always been a reflection of global change. The way we interact with the planet directly affects its ecosystems, and the signs of this are becoming increasingly visible. The black devilfish, for example, may be emerging not because of some mystical or premonitory phenomenon, but because of something much more palpable: the impact of climate change and human action on the marine environment. Rising ocean temperatures, pollution, and the destruction of underwater ecosystems may be altering the behavior of species that, until recently, remained hidden in the depths. Ocean pollution is a problem that grows every year. Millions of tons of plastic are dumped into the sea, directly affecting marine biodiversity. Abyssal species, such as the black devilfish and the oarfish, may be being forced out of their natural habitats due to contamination of their waters or food shortages. Studies have already shown that microplastics are even being found in the depths of the ocean, places that should theoretically be untouched. If it affects microscopic organisms, imagine the impact on the predators that depend on them for survival. And it doesn't stop there. Changes in the pattern of ocean currents caused by melting ice caps and global warming may also be disrupting deep-sea ecosystems. What was once a stable and predictable environment may now be becoming a scenario of chaos, forcing species to adapt or perish. The fact that we are seeing more and more enigmatic creatures emerge should not be seen as a simple coincidence. Perhaps the real warning comes not from the fish, but from the way we are treating the planet. If there's one thing we've learned from these events, it's that nature always gives signs before something big happens. The question is, are we paying attention? The appearance of the black devil and the oarfish in unusual places may be a simple coincidence, or it may be the reflection of profound changes on the planet that we do not yet fully understand. What else needs to happen for us to realize that the ocean and the earth as a whole is trying to tell us something? Now, imagine the possibilities. What if the oceans really do hide a natural early warning system for disasters? What if our interference with the environment is forcing ancient creatures to emerge, revealing a much bigger problem than just a strange fish appearing in the wrong place? What we are witnessing may not be just an isolated mystery, but rather a sign that we are changing the balance of life on the planet irreversibly. So, have you ever thought about it? Do you think these events are a coincidence? Or do you believe that nature has ways of warning us before chaos? Leave your opinion in the comments and share this knowledge with those who need to know it. And of course, if you want to continue exploring the mysteries of the oceans, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. After all, if the sea holds secrets, we are here to unravel them.